Hello and welcome to this week's broadcast. If you've been watching my feed, you will know I said I'd do something a little bit different this week. I wasn't sure what I was going to do, but I do now know. So this is going to be quite different to things that I've done in the past. I will freely admit that I'm borrowing this idea from my friend and teacher, Abnd ANYONE. It's Debbie who taught me qigong and taught me how to lead sessions. Now, the essence of qigong is about energy movement. It's moving your internal energy around. And the main driver for moving your energy around comes from movement in the waist. This is why when I'm talking you through the qigong moves that I normally lead, I often talk about engaging your core abdominal muscles, and I have in the past used the analogy that we know we need to exercise to keep our heart muscles strong, to make sure it can pump our blood around. Same thing applies with your qi. You need strong muscles down here to help move your qi around. And trust me, strong muscles here around this area are really useful in another way as well, because think about it, the only thing supporting your spine from there to there is those muscles. That's one reason why if you've got weak muscles, or if the part of your back that's most liable for injury is the lower back, because it's only got these muscles to support it. And let's be honest, our modern lives don't encourage us to support and to strengthen these muscles and to use them as much as we did in the days when we were all working in the fields. But I do these videos because I hope to encourage everybody to do something every day. But I do realise that spending 20 to 30 minutes waving your arms around and doing some mindfulness meditation can be very daunting at first. You do soon get into it, but I can see that that's actually a barrier. So I'm going to nick an idea from Debbie. It's not my idea at all. Debbie issues what she calls people a 30-day challenge. And I would like to take you through the 3 steps of that 30-day challenge today, and invite you, if you feel this is something that would be helpful for you, to actually take this challenge. There are 3 steps in what Debbie invites people to do. And initially, I would suggest that you maybe spend 1 minute a day on each step. So you've only got to block out 3 minutes when you won't be disturbed, and you can time it on. You can set a timer on your clock, on your phone, to make sure that you keep to the time. And gradually you will find it becomes easier and easier to extend the time that you spend. Now, the first element of this is called turning from the waist. This is something I've spoken about before, but I'm going to go into it in greater detail today. So when you turn, if you watch what I'm doing, you watch my legs, you can see that my weight is changing on my knees, and I'm swiveling my hips. I suspect Craig will be very pleased with my, well, I wouldn't be very pleased with my hip action, but there's certainly hip action there. That is not turning from the waist. So if you want to practice turning from the waist, get yourself into your good qigong stance. So hip width stance, feet are hip width apart, knees very slightly bent, back straight, neck straight. Engage these core abdominal muscles. And I want you just to gently turn. Doesn't matter how big the move is to start with, but I want you to turn while keeping your hips, knees and toes very much in a line and facing forward. So the movement is coming from the waist, from up here. And yes, it can be a little bit difficult at first. Now you'll notice that as I make the move, my arms are swinging. That's because my arms are moving in response to the movement of my body. This is entirely different. This is me swinging my arms from the shoulder. I'm still turning from the waist. If you're watching my hips, you can see that. So in the initial stages, if all you can do is a very small turn to left and to right, really focusing, really being mindful of what your hips, knees and toes are doing, and really being mindful of where you're feeling the movement, do you know, that's okay. Remember, small is beautiful in qigong. So the first element of Debbie's 30-day challenge is to do this. And as the more you practice this, you'll find that you'll be able to move further and further. Now, one of the things I often say with the qigong is imagine that your weight runs out of your arms so that your arms are really loose and light. So they respond to the movement of your body. And with enough practice, you'll be able to find that you will be able to turn further and further from the waist. And that as you do that, keeping your arms nice and light, your arms will naturally start to move and you won't be consciously moving them at all. They will be responding to what your upper body is doing. Now, if you're not used to doing that, it takes some practice. That's why it's a 30-day challenge, because if you're going to get into the habit of doing something, you do need to practice it every day. But I'm not asking you to do it for an awfully long time. I'm asking you to do that for 1 minute initially, until you get used to it. So that is the first element of the 30-day challenge, this gentle turn from the waist. So you do that for a minute. The second phase of this challenge is a move that you will, if you've been a regular viewer of these videos, will recognize all too well. It's the first move that we do where with the in-breath, you raise your arms up, and as you breathe out, you let your arms sink down. This move is sometimes called opening the gates. It's all about opening up the energy gates in your body. How does this relate to the core abdominal muscles? Well, again, I want you to think about keeping your arms long and loose and light. And just to start with, just breathe. Just breathe in and breathe out. And as you keep these abdominal muscles tight, there's small movements, and eventually, with a small amount of intention, your arms naturally float out in front of you in response to the movement that's happening with your chest and your abdominal muscles. With this move, it's also quite a good idea to think of your core abdominal muscles like an accordion. So as you breathe in, imagine the accordion is expanding. And as you breathe out, imagine those core abdominal muscles relaxing back down. And then it's easy to imagine your arms are responding to that expansion and contraction in those muscles there. Now that's a move you're very familiar with. Again, I'm suggesting that you do that for 1 whole minute. So that then makes 2 minutes that you're spending on this 30-day challenge. The third part of the challenge is even easier, and in some ways it's actually the hardest bit of the challenge. It's called just sitting, but not just sitting slouching in a chair. It's called sitting actually in the position that you would use if you were doing seated qigong. So it's finding a stool or a chair that you can sit on. If you've got a back to the chair, then try to move away from it. You want your neck and back to be self-supporting. You want your back straight. You want your feet to be flat on the floor and a hip width apart. You don't want your hips or your knees to be too closed up. You need the chair to be the right height. That's something that I do go into in other videos. I just want you to sit nice and erect. And there's a wonderful phrase that Mark Williams, who is one of the leaders of the mindfulness movement in this country, uses in his meditations when he invites people to take a posture that embodies a feeling of dignity and awakefulness. So get yourself seated, and then again, just for 1 minute, close your eyes and just breathe, and just focus on your breath for 1 whole minute. Again, you can set a timer on your watch or on your phone. So just close your eyes and just breathe, focusing on your breathing. And every time your attention wanders away, just bringing your awareness back to your breath. But hopefully, as you're only doing it for 1 minute, that isn't going to be too difficult. And effectively, that is the 30-day challenge. The challenge is to start off with 1 minute a day on each section, and to keep to that for 30 days. And as you do that, hopefully you will find that you can find it easier to spend longer. You see, the key to both mindfulness and qigong is doing something every day. Certainly with qigong, it's an important part of my daily health practice. Mindfulness is not quite as well recognized as being something that you should practice every day, but I can assure you it is. Because what you're doing when you take time to practice mindfulness, whether it's meditation or qigong or anything else, is that you are practicing keeping your mind focused on what's going on right here, right now. Now, because we can't clear our minds, we need to focus on something else. So with this 30-day challenge, initially you're focusing on, well, hang on, what am I doing with my waist? What am I doing with my arms? What am I doing with my shoulders? It's very much focused in the body. The same thing is true of the second part, opening the gates. Similar sort of idea, except the movement is slightly different. And obviously opening the gates is a very traditional qigong move. But again, you're focusing on, okay, what's my breath doing? What are my arms doing? How's my shoulders feeling? Am I trying to stretch too much? Is everything nice and relaxed and comfortable? In the third section, you are literally just focusing on your breath. And this is a very, very traditional thing to do in mindfulness, to focus your awareness on your breath. Why? Because breathing is something that you naturally do all the time. And breathing is something that when you focus on naturally, you are focusing on the here and the now. And you need to practice these techniques at a time when hopefully you're not horrendously stressed out. So that when something happens that could cause you a huge amount of stress, you have all these techniques almost habitually. So that when you're faced with a challenge, instead of going into panic mode, you naturally focus on your breath, quieten that lizard part of your brain, give that logical bit of your mind a chance to actually think properly rather than just reacting to something. And it does mean that you actually make better decisions. It means that when challenges arise, you naturally face them in a better way because you've lost that tendency to go into a state of panic. Why do I say it's necessary to do it every day? Because we need to practice these sorts of techniques every day for them to become habitual. Now, with this challenge, it's suggested that, well, I'm suggesting that you do 1 minute on each part of the challenge. So that's 3 minutes a day. And please, if you're thinking that you can't manage 3 minutes a day, then, please, anyone can find 3 minutes a day. Because you want to know something really amazing. A lot of really, really busy people practice mindfulness. And all the evidence shows that when you make time to practice mindfulness every day, whether it's only for 5 minutes a day or if you manage 20 to 30 minutes a day, an amazing thing happens. You actually become more productive during the rest of the day. I've posted a video on my timeline, which is a memory from last year, where a company decided that they were going to have 4-day weeks. They were still going to pay their employees for a 5-day week, but they were only expecting them to be at work for 4 days a week. And they found an amazing thing. People found ways to work smarter rather than work harder, and they found their productivity increased. Whether you're at work or whether you're unemployed or whether you're off sick or whether you're a mum, the chances are that although you are very busy, if you're honest, you can look back and think, well, I was wasting time there. I'm very aware that I can waste a lot of time on Facebook unless I'm very careful. So we do all waste time. But we are, a lot of us, genuinely very busy. And what I would say to you, if you're thinking, I can't find the time to do this, what I would like to say to you is, can you afford not to do it? Because it will make you more productive during the rest of your day. And also, by allowing yourself, even a short space of time, like 3 to 5 minutes a day, to do something like this, you're actually sending yourself a hugely important signal. The signal that you matter, that your health matters. And sending yourself that signal can be extremely powerful. Because all too often, really busy people like carers and mums feel they can't afford to take time for themselves because their needs come last. And actually, that's not really a very good way to do things. So, this is my challenge to everyone who watches these videos. If you want to do a standard, watch one of my standard videos and find time to do that every day rather than just once a week, fantastic, great, absolutely wonderful. That's to an extent what I hope people do. But if so far you've just been doing it once a week because that's all you feel you've got time for, then this is my challenge to you. 3 minutes a day is not that long. Find yourself 3 minutes a day for the next 30 days, or maybe do it to coincide with the what is called the Sweatember challenge. People are being challenged to do some exercise every day. Challenge yourself to spend 3 minutes a day doing these 3 parts of that are important for qigong and mindfulness. So that's the turning from the waist, the raising the arms, and then sitting and focusing on your breath. And if you can't stand, because I do know I have people who watch these who are disabled, if you aren't able to stand or can't even sit in an ideal position, that doesn't matter. Because just as with the standard qigong, if all you can do is do it in your imagination, that's still helpful. And if you can't quite, if your body won't quite work in a way to do the moves to the extent, to the way I demonstrated them, again, it doesn't matter if you're thinking about turning from the waist and just letting your body do what works for it, that's fine. And anyone who's been disabled and done qigong with me knows that raising of the arms, knows that I always say it's not about doing it perfectly, it's about doing it perfectly for you. So this is not just for the able-bodied, this is for those who have some kinds of disability. So I would like to challenge you to give yourself 3 minutes a day just to do these 3 things. The turning from the waist, opening the gates, and then sitting in silence in as good a posture as you can manage to focus on your breathing. Now, if you take up this challenge, do please give me some feedback on how you get on. As ever, with these videos, if you know someone that you think might benefit from trying this challenge out, please feel free to share this video. It will be going up on YouTube. It will be going on my Patreon page, as it always does. So do please feel free to share this. But I do hope I will have inspired at least some of you who watch this to think, well, 3 minutes a day, that's not too bad. And to just give yourself that 3 minutes a day to do those 3 different moves and just see how you get on with it. Because I say 3 minutes a day, anyone can find 3 minutes a day, I would hope. So do please give it a go. Let me know how you get on with it. And I will look forward to getting some feedback from you. So that is all I'm going to do today. If you want a more traditional do the moves and a bit of a meditation, then all the videos I've done previously are on my on YouTube, on this page, on my Patreon page. So go and click on one of those and work through it and give yourself a half hour of me time. But this is me challenging you to start doing something for yourself, because it's something that we all need to do. Anyway, thank you very much for watching me, and I'll be back next week when I will be doing something much more in line with what I normally do, but this seemed like a good thing to do this week. Okay, thank you very much, and if you need to contact me, you know where to find me.